Scott is here with the television station.
That's correct.
Every time I go to Nashville, you always fill
I
me
will
in.
identify
I'll
two
let you
security people.
do your own thing. Yeah.
Which way we go, Dave?
Who is?
I don't know. This is
Well,
KBRQ's.
As far as here is concerned, at this point, you're welcome to visit with Dave and Scott and head back to the hotel if you'd like.
I've got to get my things out, you know.
Great. Thank you, Nancy.
And his name's
Bruce?
this fellow here.
I'm Dave.
I'm sorry, Dave
Yeah, I can't keep
and Scott.
Dave and Scott.
Pleasure to meet you, Roger.
Roger
That
Monday.
didn't
He's the operations manager with KBRQ.
How did the remote go?
fine. Maybe they put me there thick so they won't get rid of it.
Influences was Arnold Schultz. Can you tell us who Arnold Schultz was and how he influenced you?
Well, he was a black man, and he could really play guitar, really play the blues, and but I always loved the blues. I heard different people around Rosine, Kentucky, play the guitar and play some blues, but he was a fine guitar man, and Merle Travis and people like that played fine guitars, the blues, and so I just had to put some blues in my music in the bluegrass style instead of taking it the old time way they used to play it, you know. You'll find blues in a lot of the songs and the instrumentals that we play.
I heard one time that you almost took up blues guitar, or had wished that you could have played blues guitar in the style of Arnold Schultz. Is that true?
Well, I wanted to play the guitar, but there's three of us brothers, Birch Monroe, Charlie Monroe, and myself. And Birch, he wanted to play the fiddle, Charlie wanted to play the guitar, so that stopped all that.
So if it wasn't for Birch and Charlie, you might be known as the greatest blues guitar player in the world.
I might have been playing a guitar and never originated in bluegrass music.
When you were a teenager, you left the hills of Kentucky and headed north, and I think you found a job up at the Sinclair Oil Refinery.
That's right.
And tell us a little bit about that. I read you were a hard worker.
Well, I left, I believe I was 18 when I got up in that country, and I finally got a job with Sinclair Refinery Company, and we worked in the barrel house, where they, they used the barrels, drums for oil, and I worked in there a lot, and I knew how to roll drums and spin them, and then you throw them like throwing a baseball, and you have to really practice or learn how to do that. But I was young then, and I had two sisters with us up there, and Birch and Charlie both, and they didn't get much work. But after I got this job, I worked there close to 5 years, and paid the rent and the grocery and everything.
Was it difficult for you being so far away from home in another part of the country?
Well, it's kind of sad, that's the first time I'd ever been away from home. But my father and mother had passed away, and so I guess I needed to get out and get a job.
How many barrels could you throw a day?
Oh, a lot of them, man. I could throw a lot of barrels. Back in the early days, they would put, say, 4 or 5 gallons of gas in the barrel, the drum, and then you'd spin that, and to wash the drum inside, and then you'd turn it over and go around, and then they'd pump the gas out of it, then it'd dry the. But it's you can learn how to do a lot of things like that when you're young.
Did you do much picking up north?
Quite a bit, but we had a set of square dances in the early days. My brothers and me and another fellow danced with us, and we danced for WLS, barn dance in Chicago. That was before we ever got started really good in the music.
People still talk about the Monroe Brothers. Tell me how the Monroe Brothers got started.
Well, we all love music, and we were just trying to get started, and it was pretty hard. You know, there wasn't any money around any place, and that's back in the early days of radio, and you couldn't get on a lot of radio stations, you know, and make any money there. So we all worked hard at it, and finally got to where we had a promoter, Texas Crystal, you know, and Crazy Water Crystal. They had time on different radio stations, and they hired us to work for them.
What was different about the Monroe Brothers? There never was a group that sounded quite like the Monroe Brothers. You all were just totally different. What was it that made you different?
Well, it's more like a country sound, you know, where they used to play music back years and years ago on the farm and different places like that. Like they would sing in churches, you know. A lot of people learn how to sing, use their voice like they would sing in churches, and have sang in schools, you know, and like that. But that was the old days.
Would you classify the music that the Monroe Brothers were doing bluegrass, or was that something that came a little later?
That come later. We was altogether different back. We didn't have the timing to music, you know, like I put the timing in bluegrass music. And the way I put, and by putting that in there, it give the fiddle and the mandolin and the five-string banjo some work to do there. And back in the early days, there was fiddle played for the square dances, so there wasn't much work for the mandolin. And without bluegrass, there never would have been no banjo playing at all.
When did bluegrass come into existence?
Well, it hadn't been on the Grand Ole Opry long, and it was called bluegrass music.
You formed a group. I believe you joined the Opry, if I remember correctly, in 1939. And you formed a group. Tommy Magnus was in it, Clyde Moody, the group that you took into the recording studio in Atlanta back in 1940. Was that bluegrass at that time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My first fiddler was fiddling Art Wooten, you know. He was from Sparta, North Carolina. And I seen Art about a week ago up in that part of the country, and he's getting along fine. And I believe he's 80-some years old now. But then Tommy Magnus followed up Art and on down the line like that. Tommy was fine blues fiddle, like Mule Skinner blues, numbers like that.
What is the first song that you recall doing in the bluegrass style?
Well, I was went to singing some solos, you know, back in the early bluegrass. And numbers like that, Mule Skinner, and of course we sung gospel, you know. We had the quartet, and that was put together in the early days of bluegrass music.
Now, Mule Skinner Blues was an old Jimmy Rogers song.
Yes, sir.
Of course, Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys did it totally different.
All together.
What did you do to Mule Skinner Blues that made it sound bluegrassy?
Well, to start with, I taken the guitar and I played the guitar on it myself, and I started with a good run, and the time moved up to where it would be a good time into the music, good rhythm, and then I'd give the fiddle some work, you know. And he could really put the blues in there, people like Tommy Magnus. And whatever I sung, he would get in there and put it in there just like I would sing.
Tell me what happened the first time you played Mule Skinner Blues on the Opry.
We got an encore. That was when we went to the Grand Ole Opry. And they gave us a job there and said if we ever left, we'd have to fire ourselves. And that got the first encore I ever heard of anybody get on the Grand Ole Opry.
You did a lot of things on the Opry that had never been done before. I think you all were the first bands, or the first band to actually wear white shirts and ties.
Right, yes, sir.
And you played in a number of different keys that had never been played before.
When I started there, I was singing in B natural, and of course we sung a lot of quartets in B flat. But on the Grand Ole Opry, they played G, C, and D, and that was the keys they played in. But in bluegrass music, B natural is a wonderful key to sing in if you got a high voice. And I back in the early days, I could sing tenor to anybody singing, and wherever they wanted to sing the lead, I'd sing my tenor with them.
You had a tent show in the early days of the Grand Ole Opry, and you had folks like Uncle Dave Macon and D. Ford Bailey that would tour with you. What were those days like? Can you describe what the typical tent show was like?
Well, people was hungry for music back in the early days, and they all wanted work, you know, and they had never had any really much work on the Grand Ole Opry. They play a few theaters or something like that around through the country. But we worked 5 days a week on the road, Monday through Friday. Then we'd go back and work the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday. And D. Ford Bailey and Uncle Dave Macon, Robert Lyon, McGee Brothers, they really enjoyed being on the show. And that, with people was hungry for music back in the early 40s. So the tent show was fine.
It's a hard life. You couldn't have ventured too far from Nashville, or you wouldn't have been able to have gotten back to the Opry in time.
Well, we'd go out a pretty good ways, but when we'd get through on Friday night, well, we would be ready, packed and everything, ready to go back and work the Grand Ole Opry. I've been there at the Grand Ole Opry, I believe it's, let's see, 46 years. And I've missed being on the Grand Ole Opry out of 46 years 3 times.
Bill, you've had so many great musicians play with you through the years. In fact, just about everyone who's made a mark in bluegrass has been a bluegrass boy at one time or another. Can you just briefly tell me some of the folks who have been in your band and what part you think they had to play in shaping and forming bluegrass music into what it is today?
Well, to start with, you see, I had Fiddlin' Art Woodman, and Cleo Davis was my first guitar picker from Alabama. Amos Guerin was a bass man from South Carolina. And then Tommy Magnus on down the line, Big Howdy Forrester, Chubby Wise. You know, just a big turnover in the way of the fiddle players. And then Clyde Moody coming in with the guitar, you know, and Mac Wiseman, Lester Flatt, Jimmy Martin, and James Monroe has been a big turnover in the way of the people, the lead singers. And Dave Aikman String Beans was the first banjo player, you know. And then Earl Scruggs, Don Reno, Rudy Lyle, just on down. There's been a powerful turnover in the way of the 5-string banjo players.
What do you look for when you're going to hire someone to be a bluegrass boy?
Well, I'd like to have a good, decent man, a sober man. There's been a few got by, you know, they'd come in, got in the group, and that I didn't know that they was really drank as much as they did. But I try to keep the group sober, you know, and respectable, and they respect the people, and I want the people to respect us too, the way I've always stood.
What do you have to show a bluegrass boy as a rule? I know they come in and a lot of them have an idea of what they think bluegrass music is, but I know as a rule, most of them you have to kind of teach a thing or two. What seems to be the area that bluegrass boys need the most help on?
Well, they need to know the timing of the music and how you want it played. And that's what plays a big part. And we always try to be on time, you know, things like that.
Baseball is one of your great loves.
Yes, sir.
And I know in the early days you used to carry around a ball club with you, and I want to talk to you about that for a minute or two. That has always fascinated me.
Yeah.
I know that some of the musicians played positions on the team. Who were some of the better ball players who were also bluegrass boys?
Well, let's see now. G.W. Wilkerson, you know, he was a guitar man, and I used to have a group called the Shenandoah Valley Trio, you know. And Jackie Phelps, I believe, he played and sang for me, you know, as a guitar man. And he played, I believe, a shortstop. And String Beans, he was a good first baseman, you know. And out of all the time he worked, I never did see him strike out over a couple of times in a year. They just couldn't strike him out. And people like that, you know, was back in the early days.
Do you have any ringers on your team? Any professional type ball players?
Well, we'd had some fine ball players back in, way on back. I had people, you know, that worked with the Mountain League, the Eastern Kentucky League, you know. And one time I was set up to play the House of David. You might have heard about this, and I was paying them $1,000 to play us a game. And Dizzy Dean, you know, that used to pitch for the Cardinals. He was going to pitch 3 innings for me. And then they canceled out and wouldn't play us. But that had been a great game right there.
They were worried about you.
Must have been, yeah.
Now, you didn't actually play. You were kind of the Casey Stengel, right?
Well, I used to play back in the early days. But the ball club got better, and I got awful busy with my music and everything. And I really didn't have time to do it right.
What position did you like to play when you did play?
Well, I pitched quite a bit, but I could play first and play third base, play the field if you need somebody to do that.
So,
Right.
have you ever thought about whether or not whether or not bluegrass has something in common with baseball?
Well, I kind of believe a lot of the bluegrass people love baseball. I really think they like it. Dave, what do you really think about bluegrass music?
Now, Bill, you know how I feel about your bluegrass music.
You like it all right?
I love your bluegrass music. It's my favorite thing in life, and I probably would have ended up on drugs or swagged out on alcohol had it not been for bluegrass music. It saved my life. It's wonderful stuff. How many songs have you written?
Oh, it's way on up there. I've wrote right around 100 gospel songs. And I would say close to 100 instrumental numbers, you know, fiddle numbers and banjo numbers and mandolin. But all of together, like Blue Moon of Kentucky, Kentucky Waltz, I don't know how many numbers I really have wrote.
One of Elvis Presley's first songs was Blue Moon of Kentucky.
That's right.
And I think you talked to Elvis about him doing that song. Can you describe what that conversation was all about?
Well, one time I was on the Grand Ole Opry on a Saturday night, and this gentleman walked in my dressing room and introduced himself as Elvis Presley. And we talked a little bit, and he said that he was sorry that he changed Blue Moon of Kentucky, you know, the way he changed it. And I told him, I said, well, if it helped give you a start, I'm for you 100%. So our friendship went on like that, and Blue Moon of Kentucky was wrote in waltz time to start with, you know, the first part of it. Well, then his timing was faster, you know. So we'd do a verse and a chorus of in waltz time, and then we'd pick it up in his time, and that's the way we've kept it ever since. So it's all worked together good. What
makes a good bluegrass song?
Well, it's got the feeling in it. I like a good true song. You don't have all of them true songs, but I like the feeling there, the old time sound that's been put in bluegrass music. I like to hear that. That gives you good feeling. And Dave, one thing about a lot of bluegrass music, you can have a love song, but if you listen close to it, you'll hear a lot of gospel singing, the way that they would sing in gospel, the tune and everything. You'll hear a lot of that in bluegrass music if you listen close to it. So there's a lot of good ideas in bluegrass music, and I think it's done wonderful for the people all over the world, and especially I'm glad it's from the state that I'm from, Kentucky.
I've heard you say many times, you've told other musicians that they need to play the song the way it was written.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't believe that if you got a waltz number, play it, put plenty in it, play it way it should be played, but I don't think you should jazz it up, you know, and put in a lot of notes just to be showing off with your fiddle or the mandolin. I believe it should be played like the man that writes the song. It's just like a march, the Double Eagle March. Well, you'd want to play it just the way it was wrote, you know. And
you have a farm outside Nashville, and I know you do all kinds of farm chores even to this day. What kind of chores do you do?
Well, if any little jobs there needs to be done, well, I don't mind doing it. I've got 34 head of horses and mules, and if you ever come back in that country, well, I'd like for you to come out and ride some with us. we'll put you in a saddle and tie you in it so the horse can't throw you.
That'd make my day, you know that.
And then we have cattle there, but I do have foxhounds. You know, I've always loved to fox hunt, and I have some foxhounds there.
How many show dates are you playing a year these days?
I'd say it would run from 200 to 250.
Now, you're over 50 years old,
All the way over.
and I know you spend a lot of time on the road. What is your secret? I've seen you do 2 or 3 encores, do a buck dance on stage, then travel 1,000 miles and do the same thing the next night. What is your secret?
Well, I've always liked to work, Dave, and I like to take care of myself, and I've never drank, never smoked. I like to get rest, but I don't like to let any day get by me without I do some work. So I love to travel, but I love to get home, you know, and see the farm and keep things in good order there. And but then I like to get back out, go see my friends and fans all over. Did you know we was playing 50 different states this year?
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I'm not surprised, though, knowing
Yeah,
you.
going to play 50 states this year, and we'll be coming back to this state here. I believe it starts in April when all this starts.
It's great. We'll look forward to that. If someone came to you who was just starting out in bluegrass music and they wanted to go into bluegrass music full time, what advice would you give them?
Well, if there was a young entertainer, I would practice every day. I'd take at least 30 or 40, 45 minutes every day, and I'd work on my music and take care of that right. And I'd get acquainted with people, you know, where that I might get a job, and I'd work my way up like that. Because you have to have spending money, you know, money to live on and everything. So just start out right, you know, and work your way on up and get acquainted with people that can really help you.
Bill, you've accomplished so many things in your career. You're a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame. You're the father of bluegrass music. You created the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame. What do you think, though, your greatest accomplishment has been?
Well, I guess bluegrass has really done it. I think that's been great. You know, I've got to play for the President Carter and President Reagan. That was great. And I played places, you know. I got to go to Holy Land too. That was wonderful. And I'd sung about the River of Jordan all my life. And I didn't think I'd ever get to go there, you know. I just sang about the country. So all at once, why Brother Jimmy Snow won't know what I go over with him. So I go to his church, and so I went over with him, and I thought I had to be baptized in the River of Jordan, and that was wonderful. Just most wonderful country to be in and see, and it's so wonderful there that you forget about a lot of things that's going on back in the States. You remember your people and everything like that, but you see that country over there, the ground where Jesus walked on it, you know, and Bethlehem and places like Jerusalem, and there's nothing in the world like it. I want to go back there and stay at least 3 weeks again and see that country.
How much longer are you going to keep picking? Do you have any plans set for yourself?
Dave, I don't want to stop. I want to keep on, and I know that it's going to be a stopping place one of these days. But right now, I'm taking care of everything all right. My health is all right, and I just don't want to quit.
I have a copy of an interview that a fellow DJ did with you 20 years ago, and he asked you at that time that same question, how much longer you were going to keep picking. You thought about it a minute, and then you told him, oh, about 10 years. It was 20 years ago. Are there any trends in modern bluegrass music that concern you?
You mean the way the way it goes? Well, I believe it should be kept pure. I think that's the way the public, the fans all over the world want it. And I don't think too much other music should be put in it. And I think sing the songs, put beautiful harmony in them. If you're going to sing a solo, sing it right. And I think that's the way that the people want to hear it, and you'll make more money out of it that way.
What songs do you feel best represent the true spirit of bluegrass music? I'm not sure that's a fair question, but are there certain songs that you feel sound bluegrassier than others?
Well, numbers like Uncle Pen, Blue Moon of Kentucky, On My Way Back to the Old Home, Footprints in the Snow, numbers like that.
Ricky Skaggs recently had a #1 country hit on Uncle Pen.
Yes, sir.
What do you think of that?
Well, that was fine. Dave, that song that Lester Flatt wrote, Little Cabin Home on the Hill, is a wonderful number, too.
It is. Bill, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, as a father of bluegrass music, respectable to his fans and friends all over the world, and I just want to wish them all the best.
One last question. Is bluegrass music the greatest bluegrass? I'm sorry. Is bluegrass music the greatest music in the world?
Well, Dave, I really think so. I'm proud of the music. It's a good, clean, decent music. There's anything said in bluegrass wrong. It's wonderful to be here in this country and coming from this country. And that's the way the people all over the world ought to believe in it, listen to it, and they should raise their children the way they should be raised, and let them follow gospel, because that's the greatest singing in the world, good gospel. And I wish radio stations all over the country today would still have gospel, and I wish they would play bluegrass.
We're doing our best.
Thank you.
Would you like to talk to Mr.
I can barely remember my name. You think you're having trouble. I've got problems too. Let's see how I approach this. Bill, a few months ago, there was a great crime, I think, committed, and all of us in the bluegrass community were very affected by it. Apparently someone broke into your home and stuck a poker through your mandolin. And I understand that the Gibson Company has apparently, I'm sorry, I messed up here. Start over here. Bill, a few months ago there's a great crime committed outside Nashville, and all of us in the bluegrass community were affected by it. Apparently your home was broken into and someone tried to demolish your prized mandolin. How long have you had that mandolin?
Well, Dave, I bought that mandolin in 1941 down in Miami, Florida.
And that mandolin, I think, through the years has been the symbol of bluegrass music. Have you used any other mandolin to any great extent?
No, sir, I haven't. That mandolin has really done the job right.
And when you saw that mandolin, you apparently returned it to the Gibson people in the hopes they'd be able to fix it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
What'd they tell you?
Well, they said they thought they could do it. They could put it back together. And I've seen it, where they had the back and everything, and it's just right back in place. I believe they're going to have it ready when I get back home this coming week. And I just hope it has the sound like it used to have.
How badly was it damaged?
Well, right on the side of the bridge, right here's the bridge, and right here's where they went through it. I had two mandolins there, two F5s, and they laid them both in the floor and went through both of them.
What role does a mandolin play in bluegrass music?
Well, it plays a big part in the way of help keeping the time right. And it can take a break, you see, when you want the mandolin to take a break. And it gives you a good sound. The 5-string banjo gives a good sound to bluegrass. Of course, you've got to have the guitar. It's got a wonderful sound and the rhythm, the runs, and the bass keeps time. But that king instrument, that fiddle, it plays a powerful part in bluegrass.
You've never featured any hot lead guitar playing in your bands. Why is that?
Well, we've had a little guitar playing, you know, but we try to keep it down just as old time as we can, you know, the way we play that.
I'm about talked out. I know.
Just to keep asking questions and talk, so we can. So back in Nashville,
Yes. You back in there, Mom?
when you hit Wichita, yeah, but Shores with you, waiting on you to get back to Nashville.
Well, you know, we getting ready to start on